I don't really like reading. So why this video? I've always considered myself a healthy person, but for almost a decade, my gut was a total mystery. Bloating, brain fog, SIBO, and nobody could explain why. In this video, I'm going to share my favorite 4 books that have had a huge impact on how I think about health. Not just as a doctor, but as somebody who's lived with unexplained digestive problems for most of his adult life. These are not books that I'm reading for fun. To be honest, like I said, I don't love reading. So when I do pick up a book, I'm looking to extract 1 or 2 powerful tools that I can actually use. And these 4 books definitely provided that. Stick around to the very end of the video because the last book I'm going to explain was the most powerful one for me and finally helped me connect the dots on things I've certainly been missing for years. What's up and welcome to the video. I'm Dr. Daniel Ricciardi, gut health expert, licensed pharmacist, fitness enthusiast, creator of SIBO Shortcut, and the gut health supplement bloat blocker. As a quick disclaimer, this video is for informational purposes only and is not intended to diagnose, treat, or replace medical advice from your healthcare provider. All right, let's dive into the books. So book number 1 is one called The Disease Delusion by Dr. Jeffrey Bland. I've always considered myself a really healthy, fit person. I typically weighed around 165 pounds, thought was a great diet, tracked calories, tracked macros, played sports, could run several miles without a problem. I could deadlift 465 pounds, squat 355, and bench press 275. Maybe you think that's good, maybe you don't. I'm not really saying that to impress you, just trying to emphasize the fact that I felt like I was a really fit, capable, healthy person. With that said, I was really struggling in a few other areas. Constant bloating, gas, and brain fog, to name just a few. And they wouldn't go away and didn't really improve no matter what I did. Now, as a pharmacist, I was trained well to understand medications inside and out. And medications can truly save lives and do incredible things. I've spent time working in both hospitals and retail pharmacies and seen this firsthand. But I've also seen the limits of what medications can do, especially when it comes to chronic conditions. And sometimes a pharmaceutical approach feels like giving out a band-aid instead of fixing the root problem. This book, The Disease Delusion, helped me step back and realize that the digestive symptoms I was facing, they weren't just all random, but they were definitely connected, and that we really need to look at the entire body and all its systems as a whole instead of just focusing on one specific tiny area. For example, if you have a skin rash, doesn't necessarily mean that you have bad skin. Well, I guess technically in that area, from what you see, you may, but the real problem could be something vastly different, such as gut inflammation or an imbalanced microbiome. So main key takeaway from this for me is don't accept your diagnosis as a lifelong thing. Try to sort out the root cause, do your own research, and seek help from knowledgeable people. Book number 2 is The Diabetes Code by Dr. Jason Fung. Why am I talking about a book about diabetes? Following up from the first book, I always thought as a pharmacist that if you have diabetes, specifically type 2 diabetes, that you had it for life. There's nothing you can do but manage it. I didn't think there's a single thing you could do to actually cure and treat the disease. So in this book, Dr. Fung makes the case that having type 2 diabetes, it's not a disease of having too much sugar. It's having a disease of having too much sugar and too much insulin. So when we treat it with more insulin, we're not actually solving the problem. We're just cramming more and more sugar into cells that are already overloaded with sugar. He uses a pretty funny analogy of taking garbage and cramming them into houses because the goal is to keep the streets clean from garbage, and ultimately it's going to smell really bad in the houses. One of the boldest, most powerful takeaways from this book is talking about fasting, and he indicates that doing this can actually reverse type 2 diabetes, not just manage it. No, definitely do this with medical supervision. I love this book not because I've had diabetes and I've done this specifically, but it's definitely shifted my thinking on how we should be addressing chronic diseases and the power of what your diet, what you're eating, and what you're not eating can actually do. All right, book number 3 is Breath by James Nestor. I don't really talk about this a lot, but I've actually had congestion issues for as long as I can really remember. I'm talking about one of my nostrils being completely shut and the other one, I could usually get about 50% airflow in. And this persisted after I got rid of SIBO and had my digestive stuff under control. There were certain nights I would have to use one of those breathe right strips over the bridge of my nose in order to get enough air in where I can sleep comfortably. So when I picked up Breath, I wasn't really looking for a miracle, but I was hoping to learn something new that I could try to help with congestion. I learned 2 main really useful things. One is that we really need to be breathing through our noses. And the second thing I found helpful was using mouth tape when you go to sleep. These 2 things kind of go hand in hand, but doing nasal breathing is really good for activating your parasympathetic nervous system state, which is the rest calm state, which can actually translate to helping you with digestion as well. So my key takeaways from this book: breathe through your nose, wear mouth tape to sleep. All right, book number 4. This last final book is the single most impactful book that I've read related to health and wellness wellness. It's called Fat Funeral and it's written by Dr. Daniel Delumo. As someone who's always been into health and fitness, I thought I had a solid understanding of nutrition. Fat Funeral made me completely rethink what actually drives long-term health, disease prevention, and even having a better physique. I'm not somebody who struggled a lot with weight personally. There's been times I've been 10 to 15 pounds heavier than I should have been, but this book goes way deeper than actual weight loss. It connects the dots between metabolic health, hormones, and chronic disease in a way that I've never seen laid out before. These fad diets and extremes, they really kind of piss me off, to be honest. I feel like these pop up all the time and somebody has to go to like the very edge of the earth in order to be healthy. Dr. Delumo doesn't ask you to starve yourself, eliminate entire food groups, or count every calorie. The number one main takeaway from this book is so simple. It's just to eat real single ingredient foods. That's it. Think of foods that don't have any other added ingredients to them that aren't highly processed. These are the kind of foods that your body can recognize, your immune system doesn't react to, and you can process and digest them easily. He also explains how there's a group of ingredients called the Fat Four, which are sugar, white flour, vegetable oils, and processed meats, which seem to be main drivers for gaining body fat. Pretty much one or more of them you're probably going to find in almost every single processed food that you can get your hands on. So if you're tired of conflicting nutrition information or bouncing from one diet to another, this book helps cut through some of the noise. And since reading it, I felt significantly better and actually improved my body composition as well. So takeaway from this book, eat single ingredient foods. That is all for today. If you enjoyed the video or found it helpful, please like and subscribe to my channel for more related content. I post a new video every Monday and YouTube shorts throughout the week. If you've read any of these books, please let me know down in the comments below. What are your thoughts on them? I'm also going to put links to them in the description. So if you want to check them out, feel free to do so. And if there's a different book that's made a big impact on your gut health or mindset, please let us know in the comments below as well what that book is. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.